and welcome to the second Accurate Basketball Post. I am Curtis D. Acker, coming at you with our topic today of the 2023 NBA Draft grades. We're going to be looking at CBSSports, Adam Finkelstein's draft grades, just for a little bit of comparison, but I'm giving my own here. Let me know what you think. I'm just going to be doing 1 through 30 instead of all 58. If you want to see the last 28, a second round mock, leave that in the comments below, and I will do that for you. But until then, I'm just going to do 1 through 30. Going to get it out of the way right now. I want all of them to be able to be great picks, great guys in the NBA. Just not realistic, so I'm going to go with what I feel about each player and their projection for the future. So Wembanyama, easy choice. It was an A+. Without a doubt, that was the guy that you have to take in this draft. I just don't know if he has the ceiling that everyone says he has, but I think he's going to be a very, 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 very good NBA player for a long time, as long as he stays healthy. For Brandon Miller, I'm going to give it a grade of a B instead of an A-. I just think Scoot was the guy to take here instead. I think Miller's a below all-star caliber player in the future, and positionally it makes sense. I just think Scoot is a much better player overall, and that's why I would have gone with Scoot over Miller at 2. The Trailblazers, they went Scoot Henderson. I'm going to give it an A, just like Finkelstein gave it. The only question is you're log-jammed now at the guard position, and they're going to have to move on from Lillard and Simons at some point in order to get Sharp and Henderson in that starting lineup, most likely at least. So it's just kind of a positional logjam right now. But you get yourself a great 6-man, and who knows, maybe he can be 6-man of the year in his rookie year. For the 4th pick, they gave it an A. I'm going to give it a B+, because it was the right player to take here. I just don't know how I feel about Amen Thompson's projection overall. I think he's going to be kind of like a Brandon Miller, just a below-average all-star player, but I don't think he's going to be an all-star for sure, and that's why I'm not sure to take him with the 4th overall pick. Asar Thompson, biggest shock so far at least. I gave it a C+. I just think a guy like Jarris Walker would have been better to take here for the Pistons. He fits in perfectly with what they're trying to build. Definitely, you got a lot of playmaking now with Cade, Ivy, and Thompson at your 1, 2, 3. I just don't know where he's going to play in the lineup. Are they going to go Ivy 1, Thompson 2, Cade 3? They could swap Thompson and Cade. They could make Cade play point guard, Ivy play shooting guard, and Asar play the 3. I don't know. I just don't know where they're going to play. But good positional or good playmaking ability now in your backcourt. I just don't know if it was the right selection there. Now for the Magic, people seem to really like this pick. I don't at all. But same thing. If you want to see my perception of Anthony Black, go to my mock draft video. But I think it's a C+ pick here. I think there was a better guy to take here, Cason Wallace. I know Anthony Black fits kind of the mold that they're going for now in Orlando, the versatile position guys, but just wasn't the guy for me. I think you're adding more lackluster shooting to a team that already has a lot, and not as good a defense as maybe other players had. For the Wizards, Kubali, I give it a grade of a B just because I don't really know much about Kubali, so I'm going to trust what Finkelstein says here. For the Pacers, I'm going to give it A- along with Finkelstein here, but not because I don't know about Jarris Walker. I actually know a lot about Jarris Walker. I just think they added a really good defensive player, and he's pretty good on offense. You got a guy that can slide to the 5 if you want to get rid of Miles Turner. He would be a small ball 5, but he played the 5 in college, so he can play it. Probably going to play at the 4 where they're positionally weak. Could slide to the 3 as well. I think he's just going to be a solid player for Indiana. Great pick here for him. For the Jazz, Taylor Hendricks, I give it a B+, not an A-, because I don't know if he's necessarily what everyone thinks he's going to be. I mean, great for UCF that they get a first-round pick finally. Great 3 player. He'll help stretch the floor for him, but I just don't know if he's going to be a game breaker that you want in your top 10 selections. Cason Wallace is my favorite pick out of the Hendersons and Wembayamas in this class. as far as in the top lottery, top 15, first half of the draft, whatever you want to say. I know the lottery's 14, by the way. Kind of a logjam at, I guess, point guard, shooting guard now, but Josh Giddey's got the ability to play the 4 if he wants to. And they had him there at some points last year. So I think Casey Wallace is a great pick here. He's the guy I think is going to be the best NCAA player out of this class. I give it an A. Jet Howard, I think, is not getting the respect he deserves. He's the guy I wanted for the Magic to take other than Grady Dick. I think Grady Dick would have been a better pick, but after seeing what he wore at the draft, I'm like, okay, I'm good with them taking Jet Howard. I give it an A-. I think he's not going to have as much say into the offense as he did when he's coached under his father, Juwan, and that comes big into as far as fitting into a system goes. Or at least being productive, because that's the big thing that everyone's been knocking Jet Howard for, is that his production's not great when they're running the offense through him, but I don't think the offense will be run through him in Orlando, so I like the pick a lot. It adds a shooter to a team that really needs it. Derek Lively for Duke, I'm going to give this pick a B-, just because I don't know if you want to take a guy that is as offensively limited as Lively is in the lottery. I think that type of player is better selected in the late first round, and that's why I give it a B-. I'll talk more about that later. Grady Dick, I'm going to give it an A. Fits the stereotypical Toronto-type player. I think it's a perfect pick. Great fit for them. Great value at where it's at. I think that Grady Dick can maybe slide to the 1 if he wants to. He played the 2 through 5 in college. Similar to Anthony Black, I think Black can develop into a 1 if Orlando needs him to, or they could have Scotty Barnes slide to the 1, but I think Van Vliet's leaving in the offseason, so it was a good pickup for Toronto. Jordan Hawkins to the Pelicans. It's a player that can win. He's proven that he can win. I give it an A-. I think he's going to provide some nice shooting off the bench for him. I just give it an A- because I don't know if his ceiling's as high as maybe some of these other guys. Kobe Buffkin, I give a B. Not a big Buffkin guy personally. I don't know really. He just seems like one of those guards like the James Book Knights that just high pick that doesn't end up playing at all, and I think that's where Buffkin lies. But once again, I hope I'm wrong. I hope he's a great player. Keontae George had a disappointing season in Baylor. Falls a little bit as far as where he was projected at the beginning of the year. This is about where I expected him to go. Me personally, I wouldn't have drafted him until high to low 20s. But a decent pick for the Utah Jazz. It's just I think he's going to be a project for sure, and for that reason I give it a C. Jalen Hood-Schifino, however, I give an A-. I mocked this right in one of my mock drafts. I think that he's going to be a guy that's going to be able to soak up everything, all of LeBron's playmaking. I really liked him last year at Indiana. There's going to be some growing pains with Hood-Schifino, but I think it's a great pick for the Lakers. Miami Heat, Jaime Jaquez, I give it a B+, because he's probably one of the most NBA-ready players in this draft, but I don't know if his ceiling's that high. Kind of fits the Heat mold of players that just work hard. So I'm going to give it to Miami for taking probably the right guy here for their program where they're at right now. I'm going to give it a B+. Podziemski, I'm going to give a B. Same thing, kind of perfect fit for this team, perfect fit for the guy. I just don't know if his ceiling's that high either, so I'm going to give it a B. Also, with playing at Santa Clara. It's always a gamble. It worked out last year with Jalen Williams, but Jalen Williams was a very unique player. Podziemski's more of a shooter. So I think they're different players, and that's why it was different for them. Cam Whitmore, I'm going to give an A to. I just think that Cam Whitmore was great value for where this is at. He was definitely a top 10 pick in my book. I'm surprised he fell as far as he did. Great value for the Rockets. I understand there's some risk with his injuries, but I think it's fine. Now, my favorite pick of the late draft, which is Noah Clowney out of Alabama. I think this is a perfect fit. I think this guy is a Rob Williams, but longer, little less athletic, but longer. This is the time where I was talking about it with Lively earlier. This is the time that you take a guy that has a lot of defensive potential and you're not quite sure what his offense is. This is the time to take that. So I think smash hit out of the Brooklyn Nets organization. I'm going to go with an A+ for Noah Clowney, the only other A+ in my draft grade. Whitehead, he's a flyer. I mentioned, and I also got this pick right in one of my mocks. Brooklyn just seems to be in a position where they can take a shot on someone like this that might end up being really good. We don't know because we didn't get to see him play, but I think it's a good pick. Could be like Darius Garland too, who only got limited amount of time, and turns out he ends up is really good, and that I could see happening. Now the Trailblazers, I'm mad at the Trailblazers for taking Chris Murray here because we were one pick away from getting a Murray combination in Sacramento, but it is what it is. You're not taking it for the story or to shut down the story. You're taking him because you like the player that he is. I give it a B+ along with what CBS Sports has here. I just think it was a good value pick. Same thing with the Nets. I'd give Whitehead a B+. For the Mavs, I don't know why they took Prosper in the first round. I think he was a second-round guy. I think he's a good corner 3 shooter. Obviously very athletic coming from Marquette. Marquette is always an athletic team. But, and I think it helps because Luka and Kyrie now have more room to drive. I just don't think he was a first-round talent at all, so I give it a C-. The Pistons, I give this a C+. Main reason because, as I was talking about with Sarr, you don't really know when he's... Well, it's a little different because you don't know when Sazer's going to be able to play. I would have given this an A- if the pick stayed in Boston, but they traded it. I think it would have been a great transition. Marcus Sazer from Marcus Smart. They're very similar players, very good two-way, kind of, or average size point guards. Yeah, I just don't know when Sazer's going to be able to play as far as how can you utilize him in your lineup when it is so guard heavy and Killian Hayes is getting better. Do you move on from Killian Hayes? That's just why I rated a C+. Good player to a good organization as far as positionally having a need, but not necessarily having the minutes to play him. And that's what scares me for his development in Detroit. And same thing with Ben Shepherd. I give it a C this time instead of a C+, though, because Belmont is obviously not one of the top-tier schools. And that doesn't mean everything, obviously. There can be guys that think about, hello, Chopper, welcome back, another feature on the video. Another guy that could be Jalen Williams, you know what I mean? Comes from a smaller school, not as heard of, and ends up being really good. But I just don't know when Shepard's going to be ready to play. Decent pick for the Pacers, went defense again, which I said in my mock draft I thought they were a good defensive team, but looking at it again, I think they did the right thing by trying to get better defensive players in this draft. So, decent pick for them, but I give it a C. Nick Smith, A, great value pick again, like with Cam Whitmore. I think it was a great value pick for where it was at. Surprised Nick Smith fell as far as he did, but injuries scared a lot of people this year, and he ended up going to the Hornets at 27, and I think it's going to be a good fit for him. I mentioned James Bouknight earlier. This is James Bouknight's replacement for what Bouknight was supposed to be. Bryce Sensabaugh going to the Jazz at 28. Another good value pick here. I give it an A because of that. I think it was a, late time for him to go. I thought he was either early 20s or even a lottery pick. Really good shooter. I think that's going to help out with having Walker Kessler at your 5 who cannot shoot the ball. He's just a back down guy, or a pick and roll guy. So that was a good positional pick for them, and I think a smart one, not letting him fall into the second round. The Denver Nuggets taking Julian Strawther. I give this a D. I wouldn't have even taken Strawther in this draft. I'm not going to lie to you. I thought, like, his whole thing is that he's really good at offense, and he's good at offense, but he hoists up so many questionable shots. I don't think he was worthy of a first-round pick. I think he was a mid to late second-round pick. So I give it a D. And then lastly, for the Los Angeles Clippers with Kobe Brown, I give it a C. I mean, he's a good player all around. They got a guy that they think fits and works with them. But I think guys like Colby Jones were better here. Andre Jackson, who's proven that he can win. Jordan Walsh, I talked a lot about in my mock draft. Let's see here. There's a couple more down here. Take a shot on G.G. Jackson. I know his draft stock fell a lot, and kind of similar to Strawther, hoists up a lot of questionable shots, but he's definitely got more potential than Strawther does, so why not take him? Maybe even a Bonnie Bates. I know kind of same thing, questionable play, but take a shot on the guy instead. You got the 30th pick, and you develop long. Or your style is having long shooting guard 2-point power forwards. Take a shot on them. Trace Jackson Davis, maybe, very productive player in Indiana last year. Like, these are just guys that I would have gone with instead of Kobe Brown. No knocks to Kobe Brown. I'm sure he's going to be a really good role player, but I just would have taken someone else with that pick. So there you have it. There are my draft grades for this year's draft. If you want to see round 2 and me react to those and give my own opinion on those, comment that below. Today's my birthday, so if you could like, subscribe, and share it, that would be a very appreciative gift, only if you feel it's worthy of it. If you enjoyed this, thank you again for tuning in. Chopper, say goodbye. I think that's a goodbye look. Have a great one, y'all. Stay blessed.